The Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center (CISLAC) is calling for Nigeria's fiscal policy to be repositioned as a key instrument in achieving a just and inclusive energy transition. Speaking in Abuja at the launch of a report on tax incentives and Nigeria's energy transition, CISLAC's Executive Director Awal Rafsanjani stressed the need for fiscal regimes to guide the country's path towards its net zero emission targets by 2060. Rafsanjani urged the government to phase out fossil fuels incentives, both domestic resource mobilization, and promote transparency in tax expenditure reporting. He noted that fiscal tools should align with Nigeria's broader climate and development goals while supporting renewable energy investments.
This report has attempted to examine the role of tax incentives in Nigeria's fossil fuel industry and their implication for the country's energy transition policy alignment and sustainable development goals by setting the global and national context. It shows how countries worldwide are scaling back fossil fuel subsidies in favor of renewable energy investment. And therefore, we cannot afford, as a country that we're supposed to be the giant of Africa, to be left behind. In fact, the industrialization of the economy or revolutionization of the economy globally clearly supports this very laudable plan, and therefore we cannot afford, as a giant of Africa, with the recent investment on the economy, putting Nigeria as one of the key economic viable economic country, that we will not do the right thing.
Executive Secretary of Nigeria Executive Industries Transparency Initiative, Oji Ogbonnaya Oji, warned that without a well-coordinated fiscal transition, the nation risks declining hydrocarbon revenues and poor investment in clean energy.
Lack of transparency and strong multi-stakeholders oversight in the administration of these new incentives, if allowed to happen, will significantly lead to revenue losses. We are currently computing the exact revenue losses that might arise if we implement the tax laws without adequate stringent measures to put in place transparency measures with strong civil society, multi-stakeholders oversight.
He called for the removal of obsolete fossil fuel incentives, saying the new Tax and Revenue Reforms Act provides a strong legal foundation to rationalize incentives and ensure public benefits. Representing the Tax Justice Network Africa, Gloria Majiga reaffirmed the group's commitment to working with stakeholders to integrate the report's recommendations into national policy to drive a just and sustainable energy future for Nigeria.
So the transition will indeed need to look at how we can expand access while we're steadily diversifying away from fossil fuels. So it has to be both just and developmental. I think that developmental aspect is very important. So this report really looks at how fiscal policies and specifically tax incentives could shape this pathway. What we found in this research, and I think we'll hear more during the presentation, is that many of Nigeria's existing tax exemptions and incentives were actually designed decades ago, and they continue to cost us valuable revenue, often with a linkage to the social and economic benefits.
As Nigeria works towards its 2060 net zero target, experts and civil society groups insist that fiscal reforms must match the nation's climate ambitions, with calls growing louder for transparency, accountability, and a shift from fossil fuel dependence. Stakeholders say only a well-coordinated fiscal policy can ensure that Nigeria's energy transition is not just green, but fair, inclusive, and sustainable.